Before we get started, here's a big thanks to everyone who stops by this channel. We just hit a milestone. The channel just crossed 25,000 subscribers and 6.6 million views. What fun it is for me to make these I Did Not Know That episodes, and I'm so glad people enjoy them. Okay, let's get started. I'm guessing that whether you are 10 or 110, you probably recognize this face. It's been terrifying children for over 80 years. It's the Wicked Witch of the West, of course, and she was played by Margaret Hamilton. While this is the role she became most famous for, she had a very interesting life aside from that, and we'll look at some of the more fascinating facts about her today. While most everyone knows the incident where she was burned while filming The Wizard of Oz, we're going to look at some other facts that maybe you might not know. When you were a kid, the witch may have seemed like a towering figure in The Wizard of Oz, but Margaret Hamilton was actually a tiny woman, barely reaching 5 feet tall. But I suppose if you wear a tall hat and surround yourself with munchkins and winged monkeys, you look pretty big. Maybe the real reason she wanted those ruby slippers was because they had heels and it would have given her a few more inches in height. Garland was only 5 feet tall herself, but some of the shots make it look like Hamilton is larger. At times in some scenes, you can see that Hamilton wasn't any bigger than Garland. Hamilton loved children and was originally a kindergarten teacher. She grew up in Ohio and attended Hathaway Brown School and practiced acting in children's theater. 2 of her kindergarten students went on to become actors themselves. One was Jim Backus, probably best known as Thurston Howell III on Gilligan's Island. He was also the voice of Mr. Magoo and played James Dean's father in Rebel Without a Cause. The other was William Wyndham. Wyndham was a very popular actor, appearing as a guest star in many TV shows such as Star Trek, Gunsmoke, and even had his own series called My World and Welcome to It. Here's his comment about Margaret Hamilton being his kindergarten teacher.
I had a kindergarten teacher who played the Wicked Witch of the West. Margaret Hamilton was my kindergarten school teacher in Rye, New York, at the Rye Country Day School. I think she actually kicked me out.
The last part appears to be true. Apparently, he was such a handful that she booted him from her classroom. Did you know that Margaret Hamilton was not the original Wicked Witch? The studio had hired an actress by the name of Gail Sondergaard for the role. As you can see here, she and the studio were trying out some different looks for her role as the witch, but the film's producer felt she just was too attractive for the role. When she took the role, she thought that she was going to look much like the witch in Disney's film Snow White. But eventually the film's producers decided they wanted to go for the ugly version of a witch. So she dropped out, saying that in those days she was not about to make herself look ugly. So with only 3 days left before they started shooting, she was replaced by Hamilton, which leads to this next funny fact. By the time she had appeared in The Wizard of Oz, Hamilton had appeared in over 20 films. She said she was careful about the types of roles she chose because she didn't want to become typecast as a certain type of character. Hamilton had a hilarious reaction when learning from her agent that she was wanted for a role in The Wizard of Oz.
And as time went along, one day, he said, they're sort of interested in you for a part in The Wizard of Oz. And I said, oh, gosh, think of that. I said, I loved that story from the time I was 4 years old. What is it? And he said, well, the witch. And I said, the witch? And then he said the final thing. He said, yes, what else?
Hamilton had a great sense of humor and had a remarkable ability to laugh at herself. She declared that she was happy to be homely and often even joked about it. While she didn't have the most petite nose in the world, they did put a prosthetic nose and chin on her to give her that distinctive look when she was the Wicked Witch. She was not self-conscious about her looks at all. In fact, she'd make funny remarks about them. She declared that she was glad she was homely because her distinctive looks gave her a lot of work. When she was a girl, her father wanted to take her to a plastic surgeon to alter her nose, and she refused, saying it was her nose and she wanted to keep it. On the set of Oz, the crews put a sign on her chair that said, "Mag the Hag," and she loved it. Now, supposedly, if you look closely, the prosthetic noses that she wore in the film changed sizes, but I haven't checked that out. Hamilton said God gave her the look she had, and she was going to make the most out of it. In 1938, as a present to his secretary's niece, Louis B. Mayer had a 1903 edition of the book The Wizard of Oz signed by the film's cast. On the first blank page, Margaret Hamilton wrote, "Very best wishes to Colleen, even though I look mean," and it was signed Mag the Hag, Margaret Hamilton. Hamilton played the Wicked Witch way back in 1939, but her character was so identifiable, she'd pull out her old costume again 30 plus years later, and everyone immediately knew who it was. She appeared as herself in 1975 in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and then dressed up as the witch to show children that it was all pretend and that she was actually a very nice person.
There. Well, there's your old friend, the Wicked Witch of the West.
How did she talk?
Well, she talked like this. It's very nice to see you.
Later in the episode, she traveled to the land of make-believe, where she again became her witch character.
For the moment.
In February of 1976, she appeared on Sesame Street as the Wicked Witch, but this time it backfired. Parents complained that she scared their kids, and so they pulled that episode, and it never aired again. It was thought to be gone forever until recently, when a copy appeared online. Later, in the fall of 1976, she once again appeared as the witch on the Paul Lynde Halloween special. In this show, Hamilton played the sister to another famous witch at the time, the character of Witchy Poo from H.R. Pufnstuf, who was played by actress Billie Hayes. Hamilton told Pufnstuf creator Sid Croft that she thought Hayes' portrayal of Witchy Poo was the best witch ever. For a time in the 1970s, Hamilton also became the face of Maxwell House Coffee in a series of commercials. She played the warm, wise, and friendly store owner, Cora, who claimed that Maxwell House was so good it was the only coffee she'd sell. While I was working on this episode, every place I found information on Margaret Hamilton, they so often spoke of her as a sweet, warm, and funny person, the complete opposite of the nasty old witch she portrayed. Being that she started out as a kindergarten teacher, she loved children and often said that her greatest fear was that children would think she really was this mean and scary woman. I'm guessing that this character of Cora was probably pretty close to who she maybe really was in real life. In her later years, she continued acting at a local theater and teaching Sunday school. By the way, Hamilton died in 1985 at the age of 82. Well, and this one was something I came across when I was just finishing up this episode. In Maine, an actress named Jean Tafler transforms herself and puts on a one-woman play on Margaret Hamilton. The YouTube clips of her performance look fantastic. It appears she's just finishing up a run of her shows. Hopefully she's going to do some more in the future. I'm providing a link below.
All I could think of were the almost headlines. Wicked Witch liquidated again.
Well, that's it for this one. Again, thanks so much for all of you who watch and pushed me over 25,000 subscribers.